Some magic.
Sounds good.
All right, we're live. It's Nick Atkin here on the one on SKMA Pod. I got my buddy Kyle the Diamond Dimond here, all the way from the UK, tuning in. We've been talking about doing this for a while. I'm glad we're finally doing it. Kyle, what's up, man? Nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Yeah, happy to finally get this done. It's cool to do it.
You've been crashing out some stories, I think, for Sportskeeda the last couple hours. I had to wait till 10 o'clock. I'm happy. I wanted to make it worth your while. I didn't want to interrupt your work. It's been a busy day for you, I guess.
It's a pretty standard day so far. But yeah, it's been all one championship so far today. Like you said, Sportskeeda when I woke up, and then I'm working on something one championship related for fighters only at the moment. So yeah, it's been all one championship on my mind this morning. So yeah, good to go.
Yeah, guys, Kyle works his ass off covering one championship and other promotions. Definitely go give him a follow if you don't know who he is. Now you know. I did a chat on his channel before. I can't remember. This is the February show, I think, for Bangkok Fight Night.
Yeah.
19. Yeah. So we're repaying the favor here. And we're just gonna chat one championship because it's Wednesday. And why not? I want to do more. 166 poster up here, guys. I don't know if you can see it. The mic's in the way. But Anatoly Malikin, signed by Anatoly, and he's written 3 belt time. Let's go, number 1. And I've got my stamp Fairtex sign card here. Got some new stuff in the background for all of you. I spent a good 10 minutes livening the scene up. I hope you'll enjoy it. What have you got in the background there, Carl? Like, what can I see? I'm trying to.
You know what? I need to get some kind of one representation behind me.
I've got
these big. I've got these big UFC posters, but they're signed. But like I just bought those as a fan. So yeah, I need to get something. I need to get some gloves or something behind me. I don't have any gloves. It's mostly just like comic books and DVDs and stuff. It has nothing to do with fighting. So yeah, I really should.
It still works. You got a bit of the white space, so have I. I want to fill this up with other bullshit. So we'll get there in the end. But good to see some people in the chat already. Appreciate it. Connor, my man, is here. Super pumped, he says, about the news I found out. So I'm going to say it now. LOL. What is it, Connor? Say it. Josh Rumbin saying Fabricio Andrade #1. Okay. He's my man. Yeah, here he is on the poster here. What's going on? Combat Sports Today. Gentlemen, says Josh. Chattery 2024. A lot of the regulars in the chat. Connor, spill your news if you have some. Otherwise, yeah, we don't really have much news to talk about, so we thought we would make a theme of the show, which is dream fights for 2024, and we're kind of going to review the first quarter of the year so far. And I wanted to make a nice clickbaity thumbnail for all of you, so I put Superlek and Haggerty on there. So that will be one fight we will discuss. But we're also going to try and come up with some other dream fights. And if you have any dream fights you want to talk about, please put them in the chat. But here's Connor's news, and I like it. Superlek versus Kuzmin confirmed for one Fight Night 21. And Liam Harrison announced on Instagram's day that he has fight announcements coming today and posted, "Get your passports ready, America." Is that Thailand, the other flag? I can't see. I presume it is. Yeah, I was just actually, I texted Liam earlier about Leeds United being top of the championship. And I said, you must be buzzing, Liam. And he said, oh, I'm buzzing. Also, Leeds are top, but I've got 2 fights booked. I'm very happy. So I'm happy for Liam. I think I know one of those fights, and I can guess the second one. But maybe we'll get into that a bit later. But there we go. What do you reckon, Kyle? Are you happy to see Superlek versus Kuzmin? Has that been confirmed on? I imagine on One Thailand Instagram, but I'm happy with that fight. I know that Superlek I think they had offered him to Ace of 10 Pal, but it didn't work out. But I'm happy to see Superlek back in action. What about you, Kyle? How are you feeling about that fight?
Yeah, I think that, of all the fights that have been confirmed for that Fight Night 21 card, that's probably the one I'm most looking forward to at the current time. Let me double check who else is on that card. I can only think of the top 3, but Yeah, that's a really good fight. I'm excited to see Kuzman back so soon as well. That's really good for him. I think Kuzman is so good. So to see him back out there and Superlek, great opponent, that should be a great one. Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite fight on the card so far.
Yeah, I'm just bringing it up on screen now. There we go, guys. Very happy with that. This is probably not a great card. I think we were talking about it the other day on Monday. Very grappling heavy, and I think this fight is going to liven it up. Nice to see. Maybe I don't know if it's been added to the main website. I'll have a little check, but I'm excited about that. Yeah, it gives it a little bit of spice. You know, I'm nice because it's very You got the Rotolo boys. My guys are both grappling, and Ursel against Nicholas main event. But this is a nice fight to be added to that card. I'm happy to see it. How do you all feel about it in the chat? Let us know. Well, here we go. Some other guys are turning up. Nice to see you all here. I got Chester here. Josh saying, dream fights for one have to be guys in one. Celiu just won his title fight today in K1. I'd love to see him fight against Cricklier. Yeah, I saw the knockout. That was insane. I think that was the spinning back fist. Have you been keeping your eye on K1 today, Carl?
No, I saw some people talking about it when I woke up, but I just haven't been able to keep up with it. But it will be something I go back to because, like I said, I've seen a lot of people talking about it already.
Yeah, I see there's a lot of chat about some bad decisions. I think people aren't happy. A lot of the local audience have all left the arena early. Yeah, I think Tenancho got screwed as well. I'm hearing Tristan won't be happy against a late replacement after Kyria fell out. So, yeah, Tristan actually told me, I think a couple weeks ago, Kyria was out and they had this new guy. We couldn't really talk about it at the time on the show, but it was a late replacement. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about that if you have any in the chat. It was 9 hours long, so just long show, but some crazy knockouts from what I saw. But let's get into it, man. Dream fights for 2024. Superlek versus Haggerty is the thumbnail. I mean, let's go with that first. First of all, Carl, I'm going to ask you for a prediction. I hate to put you on the fence. You know, there's going to be splinters in your bum, in your ass cheeks. But what are you thinking?
That one is tough. I mean, like I feel like, you know, usually if you'd ask me pretty much Haggerty versus anyone else, I might lean towards Haggerty just out of a little bit of UK bias, maybe. Like that's so tough to separate them, but I love Superlek so much that that one is, you know, two of my favorite guys, if not my two favorite guys, going up against each other. I would maybe lean slightly towards Haggerty just because of the experience at bantamweight, but then I've been saying that Superlek needs to move up for so long now. I know that, you know, he's been better with hitting the weight. He's made it fine for the Takeru fight, right? It was the Rodtang fight that he missed it last, but so I think going up to bantamweight, it makes a lot of sense for Superlek, but I just feel like the size advantage that Haggerty's going to have, the fact that he's been at bantamweight for a little bit now, it seems like a bit of a tough ask to go straight up to bantamweight and fight Haggerty. But you know, I mean, to go back to the Haggerty Kuzman fight, you know, like that fight didn't really look like Haggerty at his best. I think it took him a little bit of time to get used to the weight class and stuff. So we'll see, but I would lean slightly towards Haggerty, but it's a slim margin.
Yeah, for me, it depends on how long. If Superlek gets enough time to properly build himself up, his body, and how seriously he takes that. If he does, it's so tough. Yeah, it's tough to lean either way, but I never bet against Superlek. I think he's the best pound for pound striker in the world. Maybe I'm wrong there. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. But Jonathan Haggerty has proved himself at bantamweight, like you said. This is a tough test, though. But does it depend, Kyle, on where it is? If it's in Thailand, does that favor Superlek? If it's in America, does that somehow favor Haggerty? because I think those are the two front runners. I think it's either going to be June at the Impact Arena or it's going to be Denver in September.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see which one they go for, because I'm curious, if it's on one of the American cards. I know that Superlek obviously will be a little bit of a name, at least because it seemed like the Superlek and Rodtang fight got a lot of coverage in America. So I imagine that he's got some decent name value over there. Haggerty a little bit as well, just because of how long he's been around in one now and what he's accomplished. But it feels like a weird one to headline the American cards. I think maybe I'm just assuming that you would have an American headline those cards, and I feel like if you're going to do Superlek and Haggerty, it has to be the main event. So it'd be interesting to see which one that gets placed at. I don't think it would make too much of a difference personally in terms of where it is, just because of Haggerty has spent so much time in Thailand, especially as of late. So I don't think it would make too much difference where it happens, but I am interested to see where they put that, because it feels like such a big fight, but I don't know whether it has that same kind of super fight energy to it if it's over in America. I'm not sure. Maybe it will get received brilliantly, because they seem to receive Rodtang and Stamp fantastically. So yeah,
it's interesting because Rodtang and Stamp, like you said, great reactions, but both kind of had one-sided fights where they knocked their opponents out in the second round. I think this is potentially a 5-round war, and I think that's what Chatri is going for. He said to me, we really want to show the American audience the highest level of striking, and this is the fight to do it in. And I don't disagree with that. But let me dive into the chat here. Connor says, can't see Superlek losing, honestly. Lobo had Haggerty on the ropes, and Superlek is so much better, in my opinion. He beat Takeru on a week's notice. Phenomenal fight. Keith says he performed just fine in Japan, if not better. Yeah, Superlek on the road. Doesn't matter if he goes into enemy territory. And it's not like he's going to the UK where Haggerty is going to have that support Takeru had. If this fight happens in America, says Dreadnought, this will be good market for one. I think it would be. I mean, Kyle, yeah, like Jatri said, they want to market the striking. Do you think this is the fight to do it? Could you think of a better fight to show off the highest level of Muay Thai to the world?
I think maybe the only one I would pick over that would be if they did a 5-round title fight rematch with Rodtang and Superlek, like I said, because it seemed to just, from watching these events at home from where I am, I always see, I follow a lot of the American MMA media, and you see which events really grab their attention. And then because of that, so many more people who are MMA fans see it, and like the American audience. And the Rodtang and Superlek one was one of the few that I can remember that really seemed to hit that crossover. So maybe that would be bigger, just because Rodtang is a bigger name in America than Haggerty. And that first fight was incredible, and it got a lot of people talking. So that would be the only one I could think would be higher. But in terms of second best, that's a pretty good one to have as second best. So
yeah, what do you think? How would you book Rodtang then if he's not fighting Superlek in America? I think I talked about it on Monday that I get the feeling they want Rodtang versus Takeru, which will also be around September, I think, in Japan. So maybe he won't even be on that US card. But he had such a huge reaction in Denver. I feel it would be a mistake not to have him on that card. So I don't know how it's going to play out with Japan. Let's say Rodtang is free to fight on this card, and I imagine they're going to feed him someone. Do you have any ideas potentially? Let's say not a complete can, but a slightly competitive fight. But who would you book Rodtang against, knowing that one is probably going to line him up with someone they think he could beat, perhaps?
Oof, that's tough.
Putting you on
I off the top of my head, geez, I reckon that if it is, if he is booked, it might end up being somebody that we haven't seen before in one, a little bit like with Edgar Tabarez, who not to throw him completely under the bus, but
rematch.
say,
Let's go.
yeah, that's the one we've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
With Edgar Tabarez, you can say that he's got these accolades and stuff like that, but a lot of the One Championship fan base might not have seen him compete before, and so you can say he's won a WBC title on all of this and hype it up that way, and then in reality, you know, we all kind of knew what we were getting, which was that Rodtang was going to put on a show and kind of run through the Rodtang greatest hits on that night. So I think it would be something similar like that. It's a tough one because I feel like if Takeru can fight again for that Japan card, you have to do the Rodtang fight. But then, can you do those cards out in America without Rodtang being on at least one of them? I don't know. Like you said, he was one of the best reactions of the whole night, and obviously one of their biggest names in America. So that's a really tough one. Those cards being close together, because I feel like he's a must for like all three of those. You know, if you could get him on both American cards, even better. But
well, yeah, we were talking on Monday. Maybe the winner of Jacob Smith and Dennis Purich perhaps could be the next challenger. Rankings wise, it sort of makes sense. Jacob Smith is ranked number 2 now, so and Superlek's number 1. And if you're not going to do Superlek and Rodtang, why not Jacob Smith or Dennis? If Dennis beats him, Dennis theoretically leapfrogs Jacob. So I'm down with that. Here we go. I've got to the comments. Keith is saying, yeah, the dogs are barking. I think my missus is back. It's a showpiece for the US crowd. This is Superlek versus Haggerty. Chattery's been making fun of UFC striking publicly. There you go. Yeah, he wants to put on a big show. Chester Josh saying, I'm surprised they're not doing Andrade versus Haggerty in MMA first, so Haggerty has a chance at holding 3 belts in 3 disciplines. Yes, this was one of my talking points, Kyle. I thought before they go to Haggerty versus Superlek or Haggerty versus Akimoto or Haggerty versus Rodtang, or even Haggerty versus Tawanchai, I thought they're going to give Haggerty that chance to fight Andrade just so he can do the whole I'm the 3-sport champ thing, just like Malakin's got his 3 belts. They can make a big song and dance of it. I thought that's going to be the play, and I know that Haggerty told me after he beat Lobo, that's the fight he wants. But then when I saw him in Qatar, he was leaning a little bit more towards Superlek. But are you surprised? Yeah, they're not doing the 3-belt thing.
Yeah, I kind of am. It really seemed like Haggerty was pushing for it quite a lot. It seemed like, you know, like it was the only thing that he was kind of talking about. Like, even I know that, like, obviously he got offered the Lobo fight earlier than it ended up happening, and then the Akimoto fight, which didn't happen. But I don't know if those offers kind of changed his mind of like, okay, maybe this isn't happening. I'll put it on the back burner for now. But immediately after he beat Fabricio, he was talking about loads. I thought it was definitely going to happen, but I don't know if I want to, if we're talking about dream scenarios, I don't know if I'd want to see that one headline one of the American cards. I just don't know if it's from a one standpoint, yeah, you could have a potential moment where Jonathan Haggerty becomes a simultaneous 3-sport world champion in America, and that gets a lot of headlines. But I also feel like it's maybe not the best thing to showcase what one does differently, having a predominantly a Muay Thai striker take on an MMA fighter, and then does it come across a little bit of a like a special attraction gimmick fight? I don't know. I just don't feel. I feel like there's better uses. I would rather have Fabricio fight a legitimate contender and have Haggerty fight a striker and showcase one that way rather than put the two together.
Yeah, I'm with you. If they're going to do that fight, I think they could do it in Lumpini, maybe May or something. But I would rather see Haggerty. He's got plenty of other bigger fights, and I would rather see Fabricio defend his belt against a legitimate MMA contender. But you do run the risk of losing that whole potential 3-belt thing, because Haggerty could lose to Superlek, or if he defends kickboxing belt against Akimoto, he could lose that. You may never get this chance again to do the 3-sport thing. If I'm Haggerty, I'm probably leaning towards I want to do the 3-sport thing. I want to make history, because who else has done that? No one's done that in one championship. And I mean, Stamp has, but she's not concurrently holding all 3 belts, and I don't think she will win those belts back anytime soon. As much as I love Stamp, I don't think she beats Alicia, and I don't think she beat Pet Gija. So if I'm one, I might be tempted to do that fight soon, to see if Haggerty can beat Andrade. And I think it's a fun spectacle, but I'm sure Fabricio Andrade is trading takedowns 24/7 right now. So But anyway, I'm going to get into the chat again. Anonymous is saying Takeru's back training and so is Rodtang. It looks like they're fighting in Japan soon. Yeah, that's, to be honest, what I heard is that's the fight. And whenever that Japan card is, that's the targeted main event. But I heard it was September. So it's, yeah, if that happens, then Rodtang isn't on the Denver card. But maybe he's been earmarked for Atlanta, which is November. Just saying, I think Haggerty versus Andrade MMA would have been a better fight for North American crowds. Could be, but I don't know how many Americans know Andrade. That's the thing. Connor saying Rodtang versus Takeru in Japan is the fight to make besides a Superlek rematch. But I'd be fine with Rodtang versus Smith too for the belt, assuming Smith wins in April. Yeah, talk about dream fights. Is Rodtang versus Takeru a dream fight, Kyle? Are we? I mean, I really wanted to see that, and I think it, as much as I love Superlek and he did a great job and the fight was amazing, I think when Rodtang dropped out in January, it kind of took a little bit of shine off that event, and I know ticket sales slowed down a bit, but is it now still as big of a fight after what happened with Takeru and Superlek?
I don't know if it's as big. It still feels big just because, you know, people wanted to see it for so long and they're such big stars, but you know, obviously not their fault. But I don't think it doesn't feel as big to me now that we've seen Takeru fight in one and already lose to Superlek, and Rodtang lost to Superlek as well. It just doesn't feel as big as it could. You know, it almost felt like in the lead up to that event, it was this huge. It was going to be a huge spectacle just watching Takeru walk into a one championship ring for the first time, and then there's Rodtang, you know, walking after him. Like that just would have been an amazing thing to witness, and kind of, you know, it just ruins it a little bit that we've already seen Takeru fight and he lost, and so, you know, not their fault, but yeah, I don't think it's as big. It's still a fight that I want to see, and I think that if you have the opportunity to do it, you have to do it, because I feel like if we don't get it this year, we might never get it. So I still really, really want to see it. I don't know if I would. It wouldn't be one of the fights I'm like I'd put into that top, you know, dream fight category. Even with Haggerty and Superlek, I think I'd probably pick that over Rodtang and Takeru at the moment, but I still want to see it.
If it's not Rodtang, who could Takeru fight in Japan? I'm thinking that would sell. Would Takeru just sell out an event? He may do because he's such a superstar, but I feel it has to be Rodtang. Do you agree? Do you think potentially he could fight someone else?
Yeah, I think, you know, if it's already a little bit diminishing returns with him already having fought Superlek and not winning that fight, if you do a fight that isn't Rodtang, it kind of feels like, you know, what are we doing here? Takeru, you know, hasn't got that much time, it seems like, that he wants to stick around for. So, you know, what are we like? Why are we wasting his time with this? Just do the Rodtang fight, get that done, and then if he wants to stick around, so be it.
All right. Anonymous says, why can't Superlek just defend his flyweight kickboxing belt in America versus one of the top 5 in his division? I mean, who is the top 5? Let's have a quick look. I'll bring it on screen. That's not how one works, Anonymous. They don't go by rankings often. They pull things out of their hat. But flyweight kickboxing, Superlek, Rodtang is number 1, and then Takeru is number 2, even though he's fought once in one and lost. So I don't really agree with him being ranked there. Although, yeah, you got Taiki Naito, Sergey Khalilov, who Superlek dismantled. Elias Mahmoudi, who was going to fight Superlek in January. You could do that if you want to give Superlek a nice showcase in America. But is it like, I could see why they would want to put Superlek versus Haggerty instead of just having Superlek come and beat someone up. Would it have the same effect, Carl, do you think, as what Rodtang had in America beating up Edgar? I don't know if the crowd would take to Superlek the way they did Rodtang. Rodtang seems to have this mythical popularity already coming into that event.
Yeah, I mean, people have seen, right, that they know Rodtang because they've seen him on social media, the clips of him walking people down, taunting, terrorizing people for the duration of the fight. So that's what they wanted to see, and they got what they wanted to see. Superlek, you know, I think that if you put him in there with someone who it isn't going to be this super competitive fight. It's going to be more of Superlek playing the hits rather. I think it would kind of be a little bit lost on people. They might be a little bit like, okay, this guy's good, but I don't really know how good he is or anything like that. Whereas Rodtang, I remember when they did the votes on social media for who people thought, you know, was going to win out of Rodtang and Superlek, and the odds in favor of people voting for Rodtang was massive. So, you know, when they see Rodtang beat a guy up, they're like, wow, Rodtang's the best in the world. And that's just because, you know, he has the name value. So I feel like Superlek getting a fight that isn't as competitive would be a little bit like, yeah, it would just get a little bit lost, I think.
Right. Well, this is a crazy suggestion for Keith. Rodtang versus Luke Lisi in the USA for a tune-up. I mean, Luke is about 6 foot, plus. Yeah. I think he's towering. 2 weight divisions between them. I don't know how that could happen if Rodtang. Not sure if he goes up to bantamweight, how, you know, but going up to featherweight, and Luke barely makes featherweight. He's more of a lightweight, I think. Don't know, Keith. That's a crazy one, but I'm not averse to seeing it. But I think that would be crazy. US fans want Mighty Mouse again. This is Combat Sports Today. Yeah, maybe on this theme of dream fights, Kyle. Let's maybe think DJ goes out with one more in Denver or Atlanta, but let's say Denver. Who is it? You know, I was predicting maybe Jared Brooks, champion versus champion, is the best way, but Jared lost the belt, so Jared may have to go back and win that belt from Joshua first before they do that. But I don't really see anyone else they could put DJ against that's worthy of. If you want to pass the torch, you know what I mean, to someone, Jared would have been great. But do you have any opinion on that? Anyone from flyweight MMA worthy of the Mighty Mouse crown torch being passed?
I think that what might happen to get to that before I say what I would like to happen, I think that there's a possibility that we get DJ maybe on one of these cards, but not in a crazy big fight. I don't even know if it'll be MMA. I could see him maybe doing a submission grappling match because he's been training jiu-jitsu like full time, like as of the last year. So I could maybe see him doing some kind of grappling match, and maybe we get Brooks and Pasio on that card, and then they try and get Brooks to call him out, maybe get DJ in the cage and try and, because I just don't think DJ's that interested at the moment in anything. So I feel like you have to get him invested. I think if there's going to be somebody that you could maybe pass the torch to, I don't know if DJ would want to do it because he's fought some pretty big guys at flyweight, but I think Fabricio Andrade would be a pretty cool one. If you had, you know, the one thing that DJ hasn't accomplished in his career is 2 divisions at the same time. So he never did that in the UFC. He did go up, obviously he did fight at bantamweight in the UFC, but it was before flyweight was even a thing in the UFC. So I think that would be an interesting option that doesn't really get spoken about, but I think the hard part is convincing DJ that it's worth his time. And I'm not sure if there's anything that he would particularly see right now as being worth it, apart from, like I said, maybe a grappling match. I think a grappling match with him and Musamechi would be really fun if they did that on one of the US cards. But you know, I know that submission grappling in one is a sore subject.
Yeah, if they're gonna do that fight, then do it in America. Yeah, I think maybe I like that. DJ versus Mikey in Denver, Brooks versus Pasio, and then let's say Brooks wins the belt back, calls out DJ, a little stare down, and that's your main event for Atlanta 2 months later, perhaps. I think Jared would be game for that, and DJ, presuming he doesn't pick up any injuries, or neither guy does. But there's a lot of ifs and buts, so who knows? But you're right. I don't see much coming out of DJ's mouth right now about wanting to come back, or he's not calling anyone out. We'll see. Connor says, I'd imagine for one, ideally, DJ headlines one US show, Christian Lee headlines the other. Yeah, so what's your fight for Christian Lee when he comes back, and where? It seems like it's not happening anytime soon, so maybe it is Denver. And then what is it, lightweight, welterweight, and who's the challenger? Because a few guys have up and left because they're tired of waiting for this to happen.
Yeah. I cannot remember his name. His name has completely lost my brain. Is departed. Because welterweight has been incredibly inactive, right? I would struggle to pick a welterweight. But there was a guy, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Because I think he's
welterweight.
Lightweight.
Oh, Sagid.
It's not Sagid, but what's his name? Why is it? I can't even remember what card it
Daggy.
was. On. Maybe it was Daggy.
There's Daggy, Sagid. There's at welterweight. There's Sebastian Kadestam, Soldich.
I mean,
who left?
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Kadestam if that. But it kind of feels like the moment was there. I know you've spoken a little bit about interim titles. It kind of feels like it just feels a little bit harsh to me to not have Kadestam in another fight before then. But that's maybe the best option of the bunch. I think that would be a really, really good fight. That'd be interesting. But there's a bunch of guys, to be honest. Like it's the Christian Lee one I feel bad about because I don't think it's particularly one's fault, but I think obviously it isn't one's fault, but they could have handled it better, I think.
All right, Dark Side is here to watch live. Good to see you. Happy we finally got you on.
I remembered who I was thinking.
Who was it?
Let me just double check. I think it was Halil Amir.
Oh yeah, he's still kicking around. He's got some wins, so yeah, I think he might be.
I thought that he was going to be next. He's got 3 wins.
From what I hear, yeah, that's not Halil's next fight. I will say no more, but
okay.
You're gonna be surprised when you see his next fight. All right. If it were up to me, Superlek versus Rodtang for the Muay Thai title in North America, says Josh. Preferably as close to Ontario, Canada as possible. Presumably, so you can go watch. I don't blame you. Okay. Anonymous says Brooks versus Pasio 3 would be cool. Hopefully, it doesn't take a year for it to happen. Yeah. What do you make of Joshua Pasio parading around with the belt? Kyle, do you think it's wrong or right?
It's a difficult one because it's not his fault that he has the belt. And I know that, he has an incredible fan base, and I'm sure that whether he'd won or lost, they would have come out to have seen him after the fight anyway. So I don't think it's as bad as other cases of fighters becoming the champion via less than ideal scenarios and then kind of parading it. I don't think it's as bad as it could be, but it does feel a little bit weird. And I know that, it seems like at the moment, Brooks tends to have that period after his fights where he's respectful and he gives it a little bit of time, and then he goes back to trash talking people. And that as soon as he's ready to flick that switch, that's going to be his thing, is Pasio walking around with the belt and being a fake champion, all of that stuff, because it feels so easy. It feels like such an obvious target to go for. I know that at the moment he's being respectful and stuff, but I don't know how long that'll hold up for before he starts, building towards that trilogy by trash talking him a little bit.
Good news from Grant here, my brother in Hong Kong. Says Phoebe, the fighter from Hong Kong, landed a contract with one. We'll see her on one of the Friday fights soon. That's great news to hear. A second Hong Kong-born fighter is going to be competing on Friday fights. Great to see after the success with Yu Yapui. Grant, hope you're doing good, man, and great to see you watching and commenting. I love it. I'm so happy for Phoebe. Well done. It's great news. Hong Kong needs more of this. Not that the Hong Kong. Oh, don't let me get into it. Yeah, I will. I'll get so angry thinking about how they don't care about sports here and Muay Thai. But anyway, we're here to talk. We're here to be positive, Kyle. So, what do you think of Yu Yapui, by the way? Do you like her? Have you been impressed by the female sex hand? I thought she looked very good last month. I want to say, yeah. Oh, earlier this month against Lara Fernandez.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know a whole lot going in, but I believe it was maybe on the show that you had done before the card. I was like, okay, I'll make sure to tune into that one for sure. And you know, I mean, if you have that nickname, I'm gonna tune in anyway, and definitely lived up to that nickname. The aggression is insane. So yeah, massively impressed. Can't wait for her next fight.
Yeah, I think she can go far given the people in that division. I mean, Lara thought, Lara told me the game plan is, you can catch her because she's constantly coming forward. You can counter strike, and Lara did land a few things. So we'll see how long that game plan can be effective of just going forward like this. But it's entertaining as hell either way. Darkside said Christian Lee versus Kazakhstan works in America since Kazakhstan beat Soldic and has recognition in Denver now. Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that fight. And if you're going to make Christian Lee wait, maybe this is why the delay is happening, because they've said, all right, we want you to do welterweight, Christian. So he's going to build his body up. Because I don't know what happened with the February thing. I have the feeling it was going to be a lightweight title defense. So, yeah, like with Superlek, you want to give these guys at least, I say, 6 months to build up a proper frame. So we'll see what happens there. I like that fight, though. Connor's Corner saying the fight to make is Lee versus the Bandit. Kazakhstan as well, he agrees. I'd imagine one will give Lee a very winnable fight at lightweight first. Could happen. This is the problem, though, when you have two belts. You've got to flip-flop around in two divisions. Anonymous says, fuck it, send in Pet Gija for the US card. She's on a hot streak. Poach a UFC girl for her to crush. Dream fights then, Kyle. Yeah, how would you match up Pet Gija? I'm talking dream fights, Pet Gija versus Alicia Rodriguez. I think for the Muay Thai belt has to happen. I think Alicia's calling out Stamp. She called out Stamp after beating Morales. I don't know if I want to see that, though. I want to see Pet Gija versus Alicia. I think that's the only fight to make. But Alicia obviously had some injuries after that fight. It might not be anytime soon. But do you think that is there any other fight you could make for either of those women?
I think that I wouldn't be surprised if there is some kind of talk about Stamp fighting either of them in America. I wonder how that would cross over, and you've potentially got Stamp's already a pretty big name over there, and then if even if they aren't fights that I think that I would pick Stamp in, it would be huge for whoever the opponent is for Stamp out there. So I could see that maybe, but I agree with you that for both Fajija and Alicia, that has to be the fight. That fight is so good, and the run that they've both been on is so impressive. That yeah, I think you have to do that one. I think it'll be a pretty big deal. For obviously, they're not going to do that in America, but I think Stamp will. You would imagine Stamp will be on one of those two American shows. Whether it will be against one of them, I don't know, but I would rather see Fajija take on Alicia.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think if I'm one and if I'm Stamp's people around her, I'd be telling her, yeah, stick to MMA, and you can probably clear out the rest of this division. MMA, have a lot of title defenses, make a lot of money. She can still go do these crossover fights, but I just don't think she beats Alicia. I don't think she beats Pet Gija, but why not? If she wants to do it, she can do. But I think her bread and butter now should be MMA. She got Denise Sambawanga next. I think that's winnable, very winnable fight for her. And who else is knocking around in that division? I don't know. You could do. I'm looking at it now. You got Ham. I don't know. Ham needs another win, I think, to get a rematch. But I think the rematch is probably still there. Like I was railing against Aliona Rasahina being ranked and Tiffany. So I don't know. The Jihin fight rematch, the shine got taken off that with Jihin losing. Chihiro Sawada is coming back soon. You'll all see. There's a fight announcement be coming up, so maybe if Chihiro gets another win, she could be a contender for Stamp. So, to be honest, though, yeah, if Stamp beats Denise, she may not have anyone to fight immediately, so it may make sense to just go do that crossover with Alicia. But we'll see. Anyway, I wanted to pick Kyle's brains about. I'm just going to bring up the champions on screen. Maybe we can have some flash takes on dream fights. But Malakin, then. How do you book Malakin for his next fight in 2024? Is it Amir Ali Akbari rematch? That's my. I'm leaning towards that.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be like, again, if I was writing a top 5 dream fights I want to see rest of the year, it wouldn't be in there. But I think it's the most logical step to do for Malakin.
Tawanchai has got Joe Nato, it sounds like, next. But do you have a dream fight for Tawanchai?
Ooh,
Haggerty, but I don't know. Haggerty, I think, has a few people ahead of him first.
Yeah, that's the problem. Haggerty has about 3 or 4, so
and then he has to go up, and I don't know.
I'd like to see. I'd honestly like to see. Maybe not a specific opponent, but obviously he's been competing in kickboxing a little bit through, like, kind of in between the title defenses. I'd like to see him keep that up, and then maybe get a big name. Obviously, I know that he has had some big names, but one of the really top guys there, that would be a really, really cool one to see before the end of the year.
All right, well, I'll get back to the chat quickly. Stamp will only fight him in MMA or special rules on one Thailand account. There's a video of Stamp responding to Alicia's call out by telling her to meet her in MMA, says Anonymous. Yeah, if I'm Stamp, I wouldn't be rushing to fight Alicia or Pedjija. Just because you want to keep winning, right? And you want to keep that momentum, get some more knockouts, some more finishes. I think MMA suits Stamp, right? Because excellent striker. She's proven herself on the ground, and I think she can build a legacy there. Why go potentially risk everything? No need. Noel Grandjean just signed for a fight too, says Anonymous. Yep, I was talking to Noel the other day. Can't reveal the fight, but I'm sure you'll hear soon. I think you'll like it. Stamp and Zhong, says Darkside. Do you like that? Is that a dream fight, Kyle?
Ooh, I would say so, purely out of in agreeing with you in that Stamp should probably stick with MMA. If she isn't gonna be interested in going to fight either of the striking champions in her weight class, then I think that would be a dream fight at some point, purely because I think, like you said, I think she's probably just going to rack up a couple of title defenses, and it's going to start to feel like, it's going to start to feel very soon like we are running out of all options for Stamp if she isn't going to go back to striking. So it would be a dream fight, in a couple of fights, I think. I don't know if I want to see it right now, but maybe next year at some point.
Darkside says Zhong actually has an impressive record. She's just not that active. Agreed. Anonymous says this is a dream fight. I would like to see Pedjija versus Smiller. Would be fun. 2 boogie women of Muay Thai. Just can Pedjija go up? She is tiny. I've stood next to both women, and I mean, she packs a mean punch. She's savage, but Smiller's huge. So I don't know. Do you think that could ever happen?
Yeah, maybe if it gets to a point where, a little bit like Stamp, we're kind of running out of challenges, and it's like, okay, well, Pedjija needs something to motivate her at this point, some kind of big challenge that everyone's writing her off in. Then yeah, but going up to fight Smiller is a tough task anyway, and like you said, she isn't the biggest anyway, so that's a tough one to do. You've really got to put together a dominant win streak against the other contenders, I think, in order to do that.
All right, well, I'm not going to keep it too long today, but if I think Kyle had made some talking points. Is there any other talking points you want to get into quickly?
Oh, let me have a look.
Made a list.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, one of the things I actually wanted, you did speak about this a little bit, but in kind of, I was saying to you earlier that we're basically through the first quarter of the year now. That the big, obviously, event for one championship in this first quarter was that Qatar card, and from my perspective, again, it seemed to be a little bit like the Rodtang and Superlek fight, where it seemed to grab a lot of people, and people that don't usually talk about one championship were talking about one championship. I think sometimes with that card, not necessarily for the right reasons at points, but like how do you think it went down compared to watching it from home was an interesting experience?
You say, is that the Qatar card? Sorry.
Yeah.
I have not held my tongue on it. I didn't think it was a great event live. It wasn't entirely one's fault. I think it, in hindsight, I would have booked more Muay Thai fights and kickboxing, try and get some nice striking going, some finishes. There were some fun striking fights early on in the card, but I think it was more like lower level guys, and the MMA fights just didn't deliver for me for a number of reasons, which we're all aware of. The red cards and the yellow cards. Eventually, there was a couple of nice finishes. The Tang Kai finish was good, but the fight was boring as hell before that, and Ebola was, that was terrible. Jared and Joshua, you don't really see that coming, and then Derrida versus Malakin was more competitive than I thought it would be, but I think when you book a card with 3 title fight rematches, so we've seen these fights before, it doesn't naturally kind of excite me going into it as a fan. And none of the finishes in those 3 title fights were really kind of controversial enough to make me want to throw down some money and watch them again. It was like nothing was. Jared versus Joshua wasn't close. Tankai versus Tanli wasn't close. Malakin absolutely sparked Derrida. I wasn't busting a gut to see a rematch in any of them, so I didn't have a lot of hype going into the card. I still enjoyed it, but I don't think it delivered. But I think in terms of what the card was designed to do, of an introduction to Qatar, it was fine. It was a good show. I think next time, they'll bring a Rodtang over or a Superlek. That's all I would say.
Yeah, I agree with you pretty much on all of that.
All right. Thanks for the podcast, Nick. It's family S. Grant, let's have a coffee in Causeway Bay sometime. I'm down anytime. I got a lot of free time now. Happy to meet up. Just went on a lovely hike, Grant, today to, where did I go? Ended up in Taitam Reservoir. Went up the Violet Hill. Yeah, I'm sure you've been up there many times. Lovely views. Speaking of Northcutt, what's the deal with him now? I think he's been completely sidelined after his outburst. I'm not surprised. I don't think you'll be seeing him anytime soon in one. Do you want to see him, Kyle? Like, are you itching to see Sage Northcutt in one?
Obviously we had done the video on my channel just after the Japan card, I believe. Well, a couple of weeks after, right? Because it was right before the February card. And we spoke about Sage then, and any kind of sympathy I had for the way that it played out, for Sage to then go out on social media and say that stuff was kind of like, it doesn't feel like the kind of thing that you air in public. That feels like a grievance that I know that people were confused. Maybe they want to know exactly what happened. He wants to explain his side of the story, but I wasn't expecting to see Sage anytime soon, and I'm not sure that there's going to be a lot of people clamoring to see him either. I know that when we spoke last, you were saying about, is the juice worth the squeeze anymore for one and Sage, which I feel like it kind of gets less and less the more as time goes on. So I'm not clamoring to see it.
Sage Northcutt used to be all over One Championship social media. We haven't seen a clip of him since, and they're not promoting him from what I see, and there's no talk of a fight or rebooking that Shinya fight. So I think Sage is in the Chatri jail, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think we're going to see Sage Northcutt fight again in One Championship unless something changes. But yeah, that was Daddy Northcutt making that post as Darkside. Maybe it was his dad. I like Sage. He's a really nice guy. I still would like to see that fight against Shinya. but I don't know if it's going to happen now. After the way he torched one in that post was incredible. It was a proper burn. It's not the kind of thing you come back from easily. But stranger things have happened. One spent so much time and money marketing Sage, says Anonymous, only for him to lash out on them the minute he didn't get his way. Sage is hanging out with Bayek now. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we'll see him again, guys. But we move on. Any other talking points? I'll probably wrap it up in 5-10 minutes. But if you have anything to get off your chest, Kyle, now is the time to do it.
There's a couple of things we could go to. I'm trying to think what haven't you spoken about too much already on one of these? Because I think that a lot of them have been covered.
We covered it. It's all good.
This 1 Fight Night 21 card. I know that you did get into this a little bit on the last one.
Oh, you want to talk about the grappling, don't you? You love grappling.
I don't know if I would go that far. I think I maybe appreciate it a little bit more than your average one viewer. But that goes for grappling in general, maybe not grappling in one specifically. As I said, I'm writing something else on One Championship at the moment for Fighters Only, and I actually used the stats that you tweeted out sometime towards the end of last year about how many MMA fights there had been in comparison to Muay Thai kickboxing and submission grappling over the last year. And I mean, the fact that there was more submission grappling world championship matchups last year than MMA is pretty crazy, and it's trending that direction again, I would imagine. But we've had 3 MMA title fights this year, 4th one booked with Stamp. I just think it's a strange thing, because I enjoy the submission grappling, although I'm not watching the event live, and so that would change it, I think, if I was in the arena. But it feels a little bit unwanted, and I feel like that hasn't changed one's outlook on it. If anything, the output for submission grappling contests is growing, right? Because they've been added to the Friday fights cards now, which I know that they like kind of happen at the start, so you can just take a little bit of time getting to the arena or getting to your seat or whatever if you don't want to watch those. But yeah, it's just in a weird place. Like, how do they go down at the actual live events? Because I know that Musamechi obviously got a very good reaction at One Fight Night 10, but from watching at home, it's kind of hard to tell, I guess, because you're not seeing people sat around, not interested, doing anything but watching them, one of the things I hadn't even thought about before was something you raised on one of these. I think it might have been the last one, about how a lot of the crowd can't even really see what's going on, just because championship isn't built for submission grappling, so they don't have the kind of setup that you would need.
Well, yeah, I've spoken at length. I've given my opinions. I don't hate it the way a lot of people do. I like the people involved, especially certain individuals. The champs I love. I think they're good ambassadors for one, and pushing into America. Good to have champs there. The reactions aren't great in Lumpini, especially, but it definitely gets a better reaction, in the bigger stadiums, especially when there's a finish. I would say, keep it for those big numbered events or fight nights outside of Thailand. I just don't think it goes down. It doesn't work in Lumpini. It's the mecca of Muay Thai, as they say. I mean, Josh says, I enjoy the grappling, but I don't think they should have more than one per card. Yeah. It's going to be a tough sell having 2 big grappling fights on this upcoming fight night. Anonymous says it's a curse. I don't know. I don't hate it as much as people say, and I admire the technique, and the sacrifice and the hard work these athletes put in for it. Just something's not clicking with it, but one's doubling down on it, tripling down. It's not going away anytime soon. So it's find a way to enjoy it, or if you don't like it, take a break. Yeah, like go to the concession stand or the bathroom or the kitchen, wherever you are, where you're watching, and you don't have to watch it. but there it is. I've enjoyed almost all of them, other than Rutello versus RDR. Yeah, that wasn't great, that one. The rest have been decent. I think it depends on how they match up, Kyle. It's like if you get two of the right people in there. I don't like them doing, BJJ versus Sambo, this weird rivalry that we're trying to push for a while. I like when they do a Langaker versus Ruotolo. That was great. Two really high level guys with incredible accolades and CVs. I don't want to see Ty Ruotolo versus Daggy. This makes no sense. I'd rather see Daggy punch someone's face, and Daggy would rather do that too. But anyway, one should just let Submission Grappling have its own low-budget monthly event somewhere in Brazil or America. Yeah, that's what I was saying on Monday. I think do some kind of in-house thing, put it on YouTube, market it, cater it to the right audience, like how the UFC does. I think. Yeah, I agree. All right, well, I'll probably leave it there, Kyle, unless you have anything you want to say to the world to get off your chest. Any final words? But also let us know where we can find your work and what you've got coming up.
Yeah. Best place to follow me is on Twitter, at the @ on the screen. I do a lot of different stuff for a lot of different places, so I post everything on there. It's the easiest place to stay up to date with everything. Like I said, I'm working on something one related for Fighters Only at the moment, which will be in next month's issue that drops at the start of April. And my YouTube channel, my own personal YouTube channel, is Kyle Dimond MMA, and I do a lot of one stuff on there, like the previous chat with Nick. I'm hoping to get.
So it's Dimond, not Dimond. Sorry, I had an old colleague called Dimond at ESPN. But I called you the Diamond, the nickname. I thought it suits, but it is Dimond, right? Sorry.
No, that's okay. I cannot tell you that literally. I don't know if anyone's ever got it right the first time, so it's totally cool. It happens all the time.
That's such a cooler name, to be honest. Diamond.
Yeah. I know it gets hard to convince people that it is actually pronounced that way, but the amount of times I get people go, really, and I'm like, yeah, it's my name. I would know, But
sorry,
but, yeah.
I got it wrong.
No, cool.
I get it. My name gets bastardized everywhere, so I feel your pain. I'm sorry to inflict that on you as a fellow. Everyone calls me Atkin, Atkins. It's I'm sorry.
It's fine.
A very cool name.
Thank you very much. I will probably be doing something. I mean, it's going to be busy, obviously, with that double header that we have coming up. So I'll be putting some stuff out on there. Probably get a guest on to chat about those cards and things like that. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah, check out Kyle. He's a good lad and great to chat. And we're hoping to make it a regular thing. So maybe Wednesday's the slot. If the time is good for Kyle, works for me. Well, he's in the UK, so it's sort of mid-afternoon for him. But if you'd like to see more of this, let us know. Yeah, we want to do. I think I want to do a Monday show and a Wednesday show. It sounds good. So if you like the content, leave a comment, like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. But guys, we will get out of here. Story of the fight just joined. We'll have to go back and watch. Yeah, just rewind, enjoy. Nice 58 minutes of action. But Kyle, thanks for joining me, man. And for everyone in the chat as well, thanks for joining. We'll chat again. I don't know, maybe there'll be a bonus show on Friday. I've been also thinking of doing a watch along for Friday fights, but we'll see how that goes. But peace and love. Catch you all again next time.